Hello?
Hello.
Hey, thanks for doing this.
No problem.
How are you?
I'm not great, honestly, but
Oh.
that's fine.
Oh,
Yeah.
I'm sorry to hear that. Well, hopefully it can be a distraction. And Fear Dragon says that he loves you, as usual.
Cool.
Yeah, he was gonna try to make it, but had to pick up his mom. Um, okay, so, yeah, we just go over usually, like, one replay, for, like, each matchup. That's usually what we get through, just because y'all start talking about little details, so it's
Mm.
totally fine with me. PVZ shouldn't be too difficult to find examples from. I guess I'll start things off this time around by asking you about your thoughts on the patch and the general map pool.
Um, I mean, I think that many Protoss players probably think the patch was not very good for them.
Mm-hmm.
At least a little bit. Because I mean, the shield battery got nerfed a little bit. The upgrades are a slight buff, but I don't think it's significant compared to like the Hydralisk buff. The Broodlords move faster now. And I think the maps are all a little bit bigger than the old maps, and some of them are quite wide open, so I don't know. Overall, I don't think that the meta will have changed too much, but maybe like Zerg got slightly better, and all the complaining about the Hydralisk actually turned into something.
Okay. Yeah, the maps are, at least the
Yeah.
map
Yeah.
base size, bases has increased. So, yeah, we'll just go into different replays, and then I'll ask you about the particular match that we hop into. I
Okay.
think NA will do best.
Yeah, I'm on it.
Okay. Yeah, I see. Is there anything in particular that you want to go over that you think like hasn't been represented very well by commentators? Do you think that is specific to you or fascinating tidbits that you've discovered about the other people who are going to go to Katowice?
Well, to be honest, I kind of don't follow the meta too strongly. I like do my own stuff, so I'm not like I'm not the best person to actually be asking about the meta. I mean, I do know what it is, but like
Mm-hmm.
I play my own styles, obviously.
Of course.
But yeah, for me, I think the biggest thing of interest is just if Zergs will keep going +1 melee or not. Because versus +1 melee, you really want to be playing Archon, Zealot. Stalkers are just not good, but versus not +1 melee, you really want to be like if they're playing Roaches, Stalkers are still quite a strong style, like the old hero style.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm sure you've been commentating lots of matches like EPT Cups and stuff, so I'm sure you've been commentating stuff like that.
Oh yeah, sure. I know. I mean,
Mhm.
Showtime, for instance, says he doesn't really even go that style anymore in PvZ. I haven't
Mhm.
gotten his thoughts on exactly why yet. He's next up, but so what do you find yourself you're doing in PvZ then?
Losing, but other than that, I mean, I still like my go-to macro style would probably be just Archon, a pretty solid fast 3 base 2 Oracle, something like that. Maybe a Voidray if I feel like it.
Okay.
Uh, Archon 4 gate, and put on pressure while taking a fourth, something like that. I think should, in my mind, that's like the strongest standard quote unquote way to play a PvZ game.
Okay.
Um, yeah, yeah.
Well, we'll start with PvZ then. So I haven't actually watched many of these, so I'm
Mhm.
just gonna go like blaze through a series unless something particularly interesting comes up. But Max
Sure,
Pax
sure.
versus Dark is legit.
Well, it
Obviously,
is legit, but 6:55-minute game. Yeah,
yeah.
go ahead.
Oh, is it? Oh my god. Yeah. Okay. Maybe we'll just. Anyways, probably won't go into the deep. Deep.
Uh-huh.
Oh, okay. I thought you said 55 minutes, and I was like, how in the world does
Oh,
that happen on Babylon? Okay, okay. No, well, I guess before the action gets started, what do you think about Babylon since we're on it?
um, the third base trips me out. I don't know what to think about. There's like the only map I've seen where the third base is lower than the other bases. If you take the one in the line, you know? So I'm not really sure which third base I want to be taking. Maybe I want to be taking the triangle one. Probably that's what I want. I mean, this is like one of the shorter maps, right?
Yes, yeah.
Um, so I think I wasn't really watching closely, but I think MaxPax just built the pylon and sent that probe across, which is what I like to do a very large amount of the time. if the map is shorter, you can actually build the pylon and use that probe to block the natural instead of sending 2 probes, which you have to do on the bigger maps. So it's actually it's quite a tiny detail, but it saves you like probably 30 minerals or something early game. It feels really nice to do.
Okay. But then that's like the very beginning, like an upstart, right? But then the downside would be that any cheeses happen a lot quicker.
Yes.
Any of that happening right now?
Yes, I played Dark and I got destroyed a couple of days ago.
Oh, okay.
He was playing. He was playing like some weird all. He had like all in me 3 times, but I think like Queen all-ins, even though the transfuse nerf obviously went through a while ago, are still very hard to hold off. Depending on your build. Like if you play Charge Light Archon, like I said I like to play, it's still very possible to lose to many cheeses because it's not a very safe build. So I would assume this game ends with Dark playing some stupid Queenling Bane all-in and just winning or losing. We'll see.
Okay. Anything in particular you have comments about Dark? PvZ?
Dark?
Mm-hmm.
Well, at least when I played him, he's actually really, I can tell he has fun playing the game because he feels like, if I were Zerg, I'm like, oh, I would play like Dark. He just does stuff and it works or it doesn't work. It feels like my approach to the game kind of, but he's very, like, he doesn't follow a formula. He really pays attention to the particulars of the game, and like, oh, maybe this will work this game because of this or this. Like I messed up my wall one of the games versus him, and I got baneling busted and I died. But he pays attention, I would say.
Okay. Oh, apparently Max Pax is paying attention to the Ling drone.
Okay.
Also attempted.
Yeah. How did Max Pack scout this? I wasn't really paying attention to what was happening.
It looked like Dark was doing a pretty decent job of denying him like extra Ling vision at the very least, but
he saw 2 here, and then he saw like 6 here. Okay, he saw 8 Zerglings plus 2 entered his base.
that's
Okay.
yeah, okay.
Fair enough.
That's immediately when he started building a wall too. So yeah, I mean Dark continued to try. This is pulling back the drones here. I mean that was nice, but
yeah.
Okay, so this actually is pertinent. So Lambo said that adept attacks might become kind of popular once again on some of the maps. Do you agree with that assessment? For instance, this map and what Max Pax is doing, resonating glaives, and then on top of that, do you think that we'll see that kind of what happened at Katowice 2020, which is the return of the Ling or perhaps Ling drone all in?
I mean, Zergs always pull out tricky all-ins for big tournaments. Like, you don't practice your best builds on ladder or your tricky builds on ladder because they're not fun. You kind of just do them and they work or they don't. But when it comes to like the big money, then you pull them out. So, but as to the adept question, I'd say this looks like a really good map for adepts to me because the distance from the natural to the third looks quite big. Like you have to go around quite a big U. And if it were me, I would, playing an adept build, I would, I can't ping for some reason, but I would send my warp prism to the bottom of the third base, warp in my round of 8 or 9 adepts. I play a 9 adept build. And then I'd send the warp prism to the main and warp 4 more adepts in there, and they have to defend 2 places at once. So, but even just attacking straight through the middle between the natural and the third looks like quite a strong spot, just because of the distance between the
Okay.
natural and third.
So you consider the distance between like a warp in spot and the main between okay, let's like a triangle. So between the distance of warping in to hit the third and enter the main.
Yeah, that's because I don't see many people play the build that way, but I like to attack like that. But even, like I said, even just down the center, because there's a longer distance between the natural and the third.
Okay. In regards to the the all in, obviously you want to throw in a cheese or an all in every so often in a tournament. It's just that do you, like, for instance, on this map, to keep it very specific, do you think that this map can be so popular for adepts that it'll almost be like a de facto response from the Zerg to do what Dark tried to do, but hide it better?
Well, I don't know if I would call that a response.
Well,
I think
an estimate, right? Like a blind counter. There you go.
I think Zergs will pull it out, but I mean, it's not like Raynor or Cyril are going to do this, I think. I mean, I think some of the trickier Zergs might try it, like Dark.
Like Dark, yeah. Okay.
Rogue if you've still played. Who
Right.
are the tricky Zergs? Is Armani going? I forget.
No, Ragnarok is.
Ragnarok might try that, yeah.
Yeah. Scarlet.
Scarlet might try it. I wouldn't put it past her.
Okay. And then, but you think this would be pretty simple after the denied attack. I don't actually know who won this, so.
Me neither. What is this from?
Yeah, okay. This is from the charity Alpha X tournament.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Got it. Gonna watch this at some point. Cool.
Okay, so the next one's altitude. And you mentioned the specific number of adepts. You said you like to play 9 adepts. So, you know, what break it down. What does that mean? What is the other versions?
I mean, it's just a trade-off, right? You can get slightly less economy and build slightly more adepts if you optimize your build in a certain way. Like Zaun used to play a 10 adept build, but that was pretty low economy. You cut a few probes. I play 9 adept, which I think is I like it because the economy feels hardly disturbed at all from the 8 adept.
Okay.
And then the 8 adept will give you a bit more gas and a faster tech transition to Dark Templar or Robo Bay or faster third or whatever. But I like 9.
Okay. Fair enough. Altitude, one of our larger maps with the very interesting Zalnaga Collapsal Rocks thing going on. What's your thoughts on it?
Yeah, to be honest, I've just been auto vetoing this first Zerg. I'm
Oh.
surprised Max Packs didn't veto this. It just seems so so wide open everywhere. So I kind of just figured it would be a bad map for Zerg, and I have not been playing it for Zerg. But so I'm kind of curious what Max Packs will pull out.
Okay. What are you vetoing against Zerg, and what do you like against Zerg?
I'm vetoing this map, like I said, and I'm either vetoing Gresvin or I'm vetoing the map with the gold bases. I forget the name, just because I don't feel like getting memed on.
Oh, I know what you're talking about. Yeah. Okay.
So, yeah.
And what do you like?
I don't have all the maps connected to the names yet, but
Sure.
I think Dragon Scales is pretty good, and I need to look at the other maps.
Okay. I'll ask you again when we're in. How long is this one? This is 20 minutes. That was pretty long.
And Max Packs has really been playing Adepts.
Yeah. Adepts again. A very large map.
Interesting. It's funny because we're watching Max Packs, but he's like the only good player who's not going.
Yeah. It was unfortunate, but
Yeah.
there's not a lot of Zergs that play in the European Open Cup at the very least, so they got like no replays there.
Okay.
There might be Hero of Stark actually.
Interesting. I don't think any other players. I don't think other players would play like this. I think this is only a Max Packs thing.
Resonating Glaives so often.
Resonating Glaives, 4 gateways, no robo into a third base. I don't think I've seen anyone else play this build.
Okay.
Also, how is this not a fast weapon? What?
That I'm not sure about, but I was also just looking at there's an icon. There's a Shield Body Overcharge icon now.
It is interesting.
It's like a red battery. Well, DT saved the day here. So I mean, Dark just trying to all in and cheese his way throughout this series, apparently.
Yeah. This is my experience playing him also.
It does apparently go on for 20 more minutes, but I'll go ahead and exit of this one. And then maybe. So I was gonna do Hero versus Clem. Yeah. No, there's no Hero versus Dark. Just his PVT here. This one's on the old map. It's so frustrating right now. Trying to find things. Wow.
Yeah.
Okay, so I don't have any PVZ. We'll just end our PVZ segment with questions, I suppose. So yeah, going back to the maps, what else do you like? I don't know if you had them favorited.
Oh yeah, let me take a look. I'm missing one. It's Dragon Scales, Royal Blood, Babylon, Grud's New Humanity, Ancient Sister, and what's the last one? unbookmarked it somehow.
Hold on. Let's see here. Ancient Cistern, Altitude, Babylon, Dragon Scale,
Altitude, that's right.
Isfahan,
Okay.
Neo-Humanity, and Royal Blood.
I'm not sure about Neo-Humanity yet. It's pretty big and it seems kind of wide open. In general, I'd say wide open is just my enemy versus Zerg.
Yeah,
Makes
sure.
it, yeah, obviously it just makes it harder to take engagements. Royal Blood, I think is fine, but like I said, might just veto it because I'm afraid of getting. I don't want Zergs to. I just run into some weird preparation. That Dark or something has. Ancient Cistern and Dragon Scales both seem like fine standard macro maps. One thing that is nice about, I think it's Dragon Scales, or was it Royal Blood? But anytime you can hide your oracles in the corner versus Zerg, it always feels really nice. Where you can hide in a corner and hit 2 bases. Kind
Okay.
of like Terran players hide in a corner with their medevac, and then it's annoying because they can hit 2 spots.
Uh-huh.
So I think Royal Blood is good for that, if I'm remembering right.
That might be the one. Yeah, I know what map you're talking about. I was speculating on the dead space behind there too.
Mhm.
Yeah, it looks like that.
Yeah, Gretzfin I haven't really formed an opinion on because it's just weird looking. It's
Yeah.
like yeah, kind of long and I don't know. I think it's a little wide open. I don't know. The maps are all a little bit bigger, so they all seem like kind of fine. Like not too favored one way or the other to me, except for maybe altitude and yeah,
Okay.
altitude mainly.
Yeah. Yeah. Apparently the stats are against you guys. So it's doing particularly well in the new map pool, but we'll see.
Just out of curiosity, what did Lambo say about the maps?
Oh, what did he say? So I haven't gone back to the VOD and like written down notes yet. He said that I don't think he had like a general statement. I asked him about it in PvT, and then he mentioned like the adepts are going to be more popular on some of the shorter maps. And the swarm hosts are going to be good on some of the smaller maps too. So you were talking about Rainer. I don't know if you saw that Rainer Showtime finals.
I heard about it, but I did not see it.
Yeah, which Showtime apparently, mostly he blamed Showtime's build on it. So that got fixed the next time they played. And then otherwise, yeah, I think Lambo said he liked the new maps, which makes sense. So that's what Zergs are saying.
Makes sense. They're all quite standard and macro-y.
Yeah. Let's go ahead and jump into Hero vs. Clem.
Okay.
I'm just like I'm spoiling myself. I remember when I cast these. Apparently, all of these end in 3-0s. So I literally thought like they were all best of 3s. They're all best of 5s, and they're super one-sided.
Have you watched these before, or is this also new? This is new for me, I think.
Yeah, it's new. I cast one of the series, at TVZ, I believe. So we're not going to go over it. But I do have, I guess, a lot of opinions about these two players, right? Here is one of my favorite Protoss, and Clem plays a lot in the European Open Cups. Clem is not doing well at all versus Max Packs in particular, but he seems to be okay versus General Protoss. Have you played against him recently? What are your thoughts on his performance?
Most recently, I played against him in Home Story Cup.
Right. Okay.
And I was kind of surprised by his play, I guess. I was expecting to have a really hard match, but it wasn't too bad in the end. And the main reason was, like, at least when I played him in Home Story Cup, he was still playing the same standard builds where you just kind of Widowmine drop and build the Raven. And I mean, I've seen that build so many times before that it's not scary to me. Whereas someone like Bjorn, who has a much wider range of builds, is a lot more scary.
Okay.
And I feel more uncomfortable playing Bjorn, for instance.
Yeah.
And the other thing that surprised me about Clem, besides his build orders, was that he always keeps his army, not always, but a large majority of the game, he keeps his army in one clump, against disruptors even. And he just tries to out-micro the Protoss player in one front. So, I mean, I'm sure he has a good reason for it, but to me it feels like he's not using his like full range of skill, because as a player he's obviously one of the best multitaskers in the world, and he doesn't really use that versus Protoss. I don't know why.
It's interesting because you know, obviously we think of Clem Micro, we think of multitasking, we think, you know, a lot of TVZ, and then I was listening to Harsum practice against Cyril and just commented on Clem for some reason. But he said like, yeah, he's not the best multitasker. And I thought
Really?
about it a little bit, and I was like, I can see where he's, what he's trying to say. And yeah, I do agree. And you seem to also agree that it's not as vicious. I feel like you can kind of predict what Clem is doing, not just on the build, but on his like pacing and positioning. So I wonder if he's in a rut.
Man, what is zero turn? That's so funny.
Yeah, okay, that
This
is
is
funny.
awesome. This is awesome. I might take this. I'll never see it coming.
Great. If you do this, I'm gonna sound brilliant. Yeah. So obviously this is very unique. So okay. Yeah, we talked through Clem's weaknesses. He's doing a lot of the same stuff. Patch, before we talk about what Hero's doing. We have the faster Raven. It has worse auto turrets. Have you really been affected by that? Have you seen any difference with that?
Yeah, so in my opinion, the Raven is just strictly better versus Protoss.
Okay.
And I think it's too strong of a change personally for the Raven.
Yeah, okay, why?
So the problem for me is that, say you leave the Raven where the medevac is right now, and there's a third base on the right, you have to leave, even with the change, you have to leave 2 stalkers on each side to defend from auto turret harass.
Yep.
And even with 2 stalkers on both sides, it's not like they could still go in and place a turret and run back and take maybe, a third or half their damage or whatever, and you'd still kill 2 probes and force you to pull a mineral line. Like, I don't know what the duration was, decreased by 2 seconds or 3 seconds or whatever, or was it more? I can't remember. But
I'm not sure. Was it? Yeah, you're right. I don't remember exactly what it was though.
So, I mean, yeah, I think just at the build time change and the cost change is just... The other abilities are the ones that Terran players use in main fights versus Protoss. The auto turret's only for harassing, but it still does just as good a job as harassing, in my opinion. So I am a little bit unhappy about that one, to be honest.
Right, you mean the Raven cost change?
Yeah.
General? Yeah.
And
okay.
the build time.
Right, yeah. Yeah, I was wondering why they changed the build time. So it was like 13 seconds and now it's 10 or thereabouts. Someone speculated that might be because of DT timings. Do you have any thoughts on that?
I'm sure I could actually find the reason if I look through the balance chat.
Oh.
But I think probably that it was just too strong at 13 seconds.
Yeah,
it's
and
still very
that's
strong
fair
at 10
enough.
seconds, yeah.
Yeah. Well, then in relation to the DTs, right? Like, do they work anymore?
Probably not. So I was playing a versus Beyond a couple of days ago, and I found that he was playing some builds where I would never expect the Raven to normally be possible, and he was just squeezing in a Raven anyways. I'm like, goddamn. If you play 3CC, and like, I don't know, I forget exactly what the build is, but I thought that he should never, like in the past, he never would have built the Raven there because his medevacs and everything would be so late. But the Raven magically appeared, and I'm like, oh my gosh, there's a Raven.
Okay, so you think that's gonna be like a real change, like the feeling's gonna change, right? Having a Raven when you were supposed to have a Raven is a pretty big deal.
Absolutely, yeah.
So,
I mean, yeah. I think it's too much, but that's just
Okay.
me. I don't know.
Okay. Yeah, I think that's very interesting because right now it's kind of like it's seen as like a perk, right? Like the Terran's kind of just like, yeah, thanks, man. But they're not necessarily saying, this or that. And I haven't heard any particularly like strong information on it either, especially because it was supposed to be directed more towards a TBT thing. But yeah, for PBT, it sounds like being able to, as you said, squeeze out the 2 medevacs and a Raven at a timing you're not used to. And now you have a worse with shield body overcharge. Sounds like a bad recipe.
Yeah, I mean, yeah. I feel pretty strongly that way. You should ask Terran players what they think. I mean, the argument the Terran players were making in the chat, which I don't know if I'm allowed to disclose, but who cares?
Sure.
Is like if you leave 2 stalkers in position, it should never do any damage. But I just find that's
Not
almost
true.
like if I leave it even in the bottom left corner in this map, there's too many angles I can hit the main base mineral line from for 2 stalkers to deter the Raven.
Yeah, you gotta like shift queue them from literally like opposite gas.
Right. So yeah, that's why honestly The Raven is the strongest unit versus Protoss in my opinion, especially versus Blink openers.
Oh,
Early
okay.
game.
Why do you think? Why do you
It's
say
very
that?
good. I mean, just the fact that one unit can force you to place like leave four stalkers in position, or if you have a medevac also, turns will often leave like a medevac in the dead space and then the Raven in a different dead space,
So, yeah.
and then the stalkers lose all their power because you want to kite back from their army when they're pushing across the map.
Mm-hmm.
But then you can't do that if you're leaving all your stalkers at home to defend this stuff.
Gotcha. Yeah.
So yeah, that's my PvT struggle.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
And obviously this game and this build is very very unique.
Hero. Very hero.
Yeah. But you consider that something would have Clem has gotten like almost full scouting. Well, he has to go back in actually see the robo, but I mean do you think that Clem should have figured this out? Is I guess what I'm asking.
I wasn't paying the closest attention, but probably he should have. Oh, he actually probably thought something was suspicious, and he checked the front of both golds, but he never thought.
Yeah,
Yeah, look,
did.
he's doing it again.
Oh, okay, there
He
we
always
go.
does that.
Yeah, okay.
So it's just. I mean, that's a forgivable mistake, honestly. Who puts their base there?
Oh yeah, totally. I just I wonder why Hero tries to fit it in because I don't know. Every time I see a secret base, and this is where you correct me if I'm wrong, but I guess it depends on what build order the person's doing, right? So if like a Protoss has an Oracle flying around, then it increases the likelihood they realize something is up and there's a third base somewhere. For Protoss, so that's a Protoss. For Terran, I mean, I guess like the default assumption for me is that they're getting some pretty nice scouting kind of default.
Yeah.
So I guess, do you think this could actually be useful? Do you think this could actually fool someone?
I think so. There could definitely be some builds where the Terran would not be able to easily figure out what's going on. But I think like the Terrans are gonna look at this map and just know like, okay, these Protoss players are gonna try to meet us on this map. And they're gonna scout regardless of what happens. I think for the most part.
Okay, all right. I'll be on the lookout for it then. And then I'm gonna guess that Clem actually leads the series. Well, I'm kind of more confident about that, but I don't know. It's a 14-minute game. It's just that his PvT has been so shaky. He does okay against some Protoss, like him and Showtime still battle it out. And, but I mean, Max Pax just kind of demolishes him right now. I don't know if I'm giving you the secrets to take down Clem. Actually, I'll ask about your group after kind of we've gone through the replays, but I don't think you're in his group.
Nah, I'm not.
Okay, safe. Oh, and then of course, what do you think about the EMP change?
Yeah, I was playing Spirit a little earlier, and I was getting all in with a pretty fast ghost push, like used to happen a long time ago. I forget exactly how long ago, but there's like a ghost push with Vikings that was designed to kill people pretty early. So I think that might be a thing again, especially with the battery overcharge a bit weaker. Other than that, I think it's like the Ghost is obviously still a very strong unit, and it's even stronger when it first pops, and it's a little bit weaker later on when they would have the upgrade. But
Right.
I think it's still just it's not too impactful except for maybe early timings.
Okay. Well, do you have to consider that early timing now? Do you have to change something up yourself? Or is it like more positioning and scouting thing?
Yeah, it's like I would react the same probably, because if I saw like the timing I'm thinking of would be a 5 Rex before third base with ghosts.
Okay, yeah.
If I see that, you always have to play safe. I think the best answer would just be to stay out for gas and a lowered probe count and build a bunch of units. If that still doesn't work, like I don't know what I can do, but I think that should still work. It should be fine.
Okay. It's not gonna force you to do any like losses open or something.
No, like if I play greedy, I should get punished a bit harder, but if I play the proper response, I think it should be fine.
Okay. Cool. This actually seems like it turned into kind of a cool game.
Yeah.
Save myself from knowing who wins.
Okay.
And what'd you think about the map, Royal Blood? You said maybe Protoss are gonna meme on it?
Yeah, I think a couple Protosses will try to meme on it. I might try to meme on it, but I mean, for show for like Showtime or other more standard Protoss players, it shouldn't be. It should just be a normal map.
Okay.
Maybe a map where you take it as the 4th base and go for heavy zealots or something.
Okay. And back on Babylon for this matchup. What worries you about small maps versus Terran?
You know, actually, as long as there's good choke points to the 3rd base, and just in general there's good choke points, the small maps do not bother me that much. So actually, Moondance was one of my go-tos versus Terran. I really like that map, even though it was one of the smallest maps in the last pool. So
Right.
this one, I mean, it's got not the best choke points ever. It's like okay. I actually couldn't tell you which way these rocks break down. I don't know if I've ever killed these rocks that are just randomly there.
Oh, I just assume that they break down. Well, I'm looking at Clem's right now, for instance, and they break to the left, right? I think.
Maybe they just cover that ramp.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, I don't know what else they would possibly do.
It's my default assumption, but I have not seen them broken down yet. So this is, I mean, I think we're, okay, this is the second person that I've seen want to try to abuse this like forward gateway. Multiple depth pressure against Clem. Max Pax being the other one. A player thing or a map thing? Or an anti-Clem thing?
It could just be an anti-Clem thing. I couldn't tell you what the reasoning was, but I could say that against a single gas opener that's not a proxy, it's like it's a reasonable way to play. It punishes players who go Reaper into Marine, basically. Because if you go Reaper Marine Reactor, the 2 Adepts get there at a timing where you only have 1 Marine and then you have 3 Marines, but that's not really enough, so it just makes it a little awkward.
Right. Okay.
If they go like Reactor first or Marine Reactor, I think it's like not a really big deal.
And downside of putting this forward wall off?
Yeah, if they go Proxy Racks, then you're really
screwed.
sad.
Okay.
But you can kind of make up for that by, instead of going for the straight scout path around the map to the other side of the map, if you just scout around your base for proxy. So if you see players go for this low ground wall off, in my opinion, they should always scout around their base for proxies. Otherwise, it's too hard to deal with.
What style of open air are you preferring these days versus Terran?
I've been trying a few things. I always try everything and then decide last minute on the day of the tournament which I actually want to play.
Okay.
But yeah, I don't know. I've been trying Sentry into 2 Forge stuff. I've been trying Blink into Colossus, and I've been trying Phoenix Charge, and I've been trying Phoenix Colossus.
Okay.
I think the Sentry and the Double Forge stuff has gotten a lot stronger, and it might be played at Katowice, but it's hard to pull off.
Okay. Wait, double Sentry and Forge?
No, sorry, just Sentry in the Forge.
Oh,
Double
okay.
Forge. It's just like a normal Blink opener where you have 2 gateways and a Sentry, and you send the hallucination across and see it's safe to build a fast 3rd, and then you throw down 2 Forges.
Okay, yeah, no, I saw someone do this for sure. Pretty sure it wasn't you. But I was kind of harkening back to some of the olden times. And it worked. Oh man, I really wish I remember what it was. I definitely cast it though. So you think that's becoming an option? I mean, correct me if I'm wrong. It didn't really seem to be very popular the last few years.
I think it's definitely worth trying now.
Okay.
I can't say it's I think it's reasonable. It's not like overpowered like it used to be. I think I can say that when the Zealots were really when they had the X-rate damage.
Right.
And it's like when I play it, it seems reasonable to try. Like it's a reasonable build to mix in.
And that's, I guess you're talking about the Sentry build time buff and speed buff.
And the upgrade buff.
Nice.
The Protoss upgrade buff.
And the upgrade buff, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah. Honestly, I kind of struggled to think of what would change with that build time for the Sentry. I understood the concept, I guess, kind of giving you guys another defensive tool a bit faster, but I just had trouble kind of picturing the build in my mind. But now this is all kind of piecing together for me. So that's cool.
Yeah. The Sentry buff was honestly kind of random, but I'm like, okay.
I agree. But it's cool that it might cause something to be a bit different. And the downside of that Sentry opener, what is it?
Well, you delay your blink a little bit to get it. So if you play Sentry in the blink, you don't have your blink in time for a standard Widowmine drop. You have it like a little after that.
Okay.
So like, It makes it slightly more awkward to defend the early harass, but not too bad.
Okay, cool. And
And
then
also, you know what's coming, which is an advantage anyways versus the early stuff.
okay, yeah. And then this is a interesting push out. So we went Phoenix into 2 Colossus, Immortal.
Interesting.
Seems like it's gonna work.
That is very cool.
Yeah, I love the proxy gateways. And then, let's see, it's been about 35 minutes. We'll go ahead and jump into some PvP, unless you have any other notes about PvT to bring up.
I mean, I guess one other thing I could think of is that I was surprised. I thought Altitude would be a really good protest map, but when I played Beyond, he did not veto it versus me. So I don't know. I would think it's good for Protoss just because of how big it is, and that would be the map I'd play Double Forge style on if ever anything, because it's the most wide open and the biggest. So, but Beyond did not veto it versus me, and I beat him on it.
Yeah. So for Protoss, you're thinking
Yeah.
default good map for Protoss is larger and more open spaces.
Watchtowers are usually better for Protoss than Terran also.
Yeah, because it's hard to take it away from you guys.
Mhm.
Okay. I just I'm just want to make sure I get that
Sure.
locked in. So it sounds like you guys like the same thing that Zerg does for Astrea.
Mhm.
It's much easier to say. All right, PvP, which is a super fun matchup. Actually, quite enjoy it. And between Hero and
yeah.
Max Packs, that's cool.
Yeah, I definitely was meaning to watch this one. I haven't seen it yet. Should be
Okay.
good.
Okay. Okay, so notes on the map. Notes on the map for PvP. Yep, go ahead.
Sure. I was gonna say first of all, I'm very curious if the Max Packs. I haven't seen him play since the patch, and I don't know if he still plays one gate. I assume he does, or does he?
Good point.
Oh my goodness, is he
No.
not playing one gate?
Shock.
Okay. Well, that's already very interesting to me. But I mean, on the map, it just seems like a pretty this is for PvP.
What?
It's just pretty. The biggest.
He's
Yeah,
not
go ahead.
getting
Sorry.
a second gas. No, I'm watching this with you. I'm sorry.
No worries. Interesting. So actually, that's a trick that you can look out for. Is you send the probe across the map after your first gateway, and if you don't run into the other person's probe, then you say, "Oh, I'll just throw down a Nexus and play like a normal one gate style."
Oh,
Because
okay.
the one gate is significantly more powerful when you don't get blocked and have to build a zealot.
Right.
So yeah. Go ahead.
In the chances of you not being also probe scouted, as you said, if it doesn't come across, how often does that happen?
It happens pretty often. Like if your opponent's playing a proxy build, then they won't send their probe across the map. And sometimes players just send their probe across the map after the second gateway. It's kind of rare, but it happens. And sometimes players just don't scout. So
Sure.
I don't know.
Sure. Yeah.
It happens for sure.
Yeah. I know. And every time I'm kind of like, really, you don't want to? But yeah. And then on that same note, when you don't see your opponent's probe, then are you like more heightened to the idea that it's a proxy?
Yeah. So, I mean, obviously the biggest tell is just the pylon count.
Of course.
So that's all you really need to look for. But if you don't see the probe across the map, you automatically do become suspicious. But I mean, it's more important to look at the pylon count.
Yeah. Okay. And by now, Hero should know what was up, just because he saw one adept, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. 0 scouting from the guy. And
Yeah, this is interesting because when I try to play like Max Specs, this is exactly the build I would fall apart to. Just
these 6
because I don't
adepts.
have adepts and Oracle in the main because I don't have a pylon there.
Yeah. See what happens. That's not too bad.
5, yeah, that's okay. I'm surprised Hero's Nexus is so late. I feel like it. I guess he built a lot of adepts.
Yeah. 6 first and then a Phoenix, right?
So yeah, I don't think I highly doubt anyone's gonna play one gate expand on a map like this. If anyone were to do it, it'd obviously be Max Pax, but he's not here. So I think this will be. I think one gate is gone from the non-RAM maps.
Okay. Is there any particular reason you thought he did it last map pool on not ramp maps?
Oh yeah, I'm talking about the shield battery change.
Oh, okay, okay.
The nerf, yeah.
Okay, yeah.
Maybe it's not as big a deal as I think it is, but it feels like it should be pretty impactful for one gate expanding.
I think I agree, because that power spike happens when, like, you know, the stalker's one-shot, or, well, if that is what you're up against anyways. When something one-shot, so it's a lot about burst damage. And that's, in particular, what the shield battery's been cut on. Oh, this is a fun PvP.
It is exciting.
And it's a huge, I mean, Roll of Blood's huge, so... you know, PvP, it can kind of go anywhere at any point up until those first 5 minutes, I guess, like at proxies, abounds, and Nexus timings and whatnot, but seems to settle sometimes, not this particular game, but kind of I'm like, yeah, okay, we're both settled, let's go third base, and then there might be a move out with some stalkers and a couple sentry kind of catch you off guard, but your shield battery's done, and then it goes into large-scale PvP, into disruptors. Has anything changed in kind of that department? We're still talking about disruptors as the end goal unit. Nothing's changed there, right?
Yeah. I mean, obviously, they're a little bit worse, but they should... If the game goes long enough, players are going to build disruptors, probably.
Okay. All right. Cool. Didn't think that would change. Just making sure. And then, well, at this point, heroes kind of contained max packs for quite a bit, so...
I will say... some random thoughts about build orders is I think the 3-Century Blink opener is kind of not very good. But I was surprised when Showtime played it against me at Home Story Cup. Because it countered like...
3-Century opener?
3-Century Blink. It like used to be the standard for a long time, right? 3-Century Blink. I think that opening is... This is just my opinion. Maybe other Protoss will disagree. I think it's not good.
Okay, why not?
It's not... It's like the least economical expand you can do, because you take 2 sentries and 2 stalkers before you expand. Whereas it's the same price to get 2 stalkers. It's almost the same price to get 2 stalkers in the Stargate before you expand. It's like 50 minerals more, but the Oracle actually can do stuff. And then the Oracles are just so useful throughout the game that I think if you see Oracle against 3-Century, I think you're almost always happy if you just play a Stargate build.
Okay, I get you. No, that makes sense. The maths. Interesting. So, yeah, you think it's bad. Maybe other people. Maybe I'll. I'm gonna talk to Showtime.
Showtime, yeah.
And then I guess ask him what the upside of going for the sentries is. Does it set you up for defense any better?
Yeah. So I was gonna say the one scenario where sentries are actually good is if you're getting pressured in some weird way early on. So I played like a 3-gate build for Showtime in Home Story Cup, and he had 3 sentries, and I'm like, wait, this build isn't good, but I'm playing 3-gate, so it's good.
Gotcha. Okay.
Because he has sentries, yeah. So.
Yes, from when I play, I basically choose a build and then do it for years, so I'm very familiar with whatever build is from 2-3 years ago. You know, Home Story Cup, not Innovation, obviously wasn't there. Gumiho opened up with a Viking into Banshee. And I don't know if you're listening to the commentary, but the commentators were like, this is so weird. This is so bad. Like, why would you do this? And I was like screaming. I was like, Innovation did it 6 years ago, and I've been doing it ever since.
That's funny.
Wardy finally was like, I think it's just an old build, you know? Anyways, yeah, obviously the sentries, I see how they're supposed to help defensively, and then I fail using force fields, so very familiar with this.
Yeah, it's one of those things where it's just harder to be the defender than the attacker, even if you should be able to defend.
Yeah. And then Dragon Scales has that natural ramp, so have you seen any trends between, you know, regions, or if you can, go over the list of players, I guess, about choosing to go for that Nexus given the opportunity, or committing to one base? So, you know, Koreans would always have that reputation of, even on a map like this, still going for 2 gates, which, you know, Hero's not doing, but just asking, have you seen any trends?
So I think I'm just speculating, but I think the Koreans will be more willing to try one base all-ins versus two base.
Uh-huh.
They gained a little bit of power, like I said, because the battery nerf. So they should be a little bit scarier to deal with than before. So I think at least some players are going to try at Katowice to play two base on this map. But in my opinion, I think one gate is still the most solid thing you can go for on maps like this.
Okay.
And then there's
Yep.
another thing early on that happens where this is actually kind of an interesting meta thing where if you go back early to when the probes first scout each other.
Oh, in the game.
Yeah, in the game. Sorry.
I thought you meant, a year ago.
So some players do this trick, and I also do it, where they won't chrono boost their next probe right away. See how MaxPex and Hero both saved up chrono boost? And then their opponent probe will go up and scout them. Actually, in this case, MaxPex didn't scout for some reason, I'm not sure why. But they'll see the Nexus, and they're like, oh, you didn't chrono boost, so I have to go back and block your Nexus. And then that's when they chrono boost. And the advantage of that is they don't get a probe harassed, which I think actually is a money boost over using the chrono right away and getting, a few probes out slightly faster.
Okay,
So I will-
so just to be super clear,
Yeah.
the natural build order is to double chrono on your Nexus.
Right away, obviously for optimization.
Right. Okay. And then if you don't double chrono, what does that mean? You're getting a Nexus? You're getting...
So in this
Okay.
case, if you look at MaxPax's base, Hero goes up, he scouts there's no chrono, and he has to block the Nexus. Because if he doesn't block the Nexus, then you'll have the money since he didn't chrono out the extra workers.
Okay. Yeah.
So like MaxPax goes up and scouts. Hero goes up and scouts. MaxPax hasn't chronoed yet, so he has to go and block instead of probe harass. And then after a little while after Hero goes back down, MaxPax will chrono boost.
Gotcha.
MaxPax always does this, by the way, and it's like some players do and some players don't, but I think it's better.
Okay. Just want to be super
There's
clear.
chrono. And then the other thing, if you do it like this, which some players will try, especially Nice will try this, because I played with him a lot and I know he likes to do this, is he'll actually, even after the probe goes back down, he still won't chrono boost.
Okay.
And then if you're greedy and send the probe back in, then he'll throw down a Nexus and laugh at you.
Okay. All right. Gotcha.
So there's actually a lot of little mind games early on.
Oh,
Like
I'm
here,
sure.
Nice would throw down a Nexus right now and laugh at Hero.
That is...
Because he still hasn't chronoed.
That is interesting. Okay, now I'll make sure to watch out for that.
I do that also. I think players like Showtime will always just double chrono and build a Stargate. But there's some tricks. There's some tricks for sure.
Okay, cool. Let's see. Hate to bring up bad memories, but you had a not great best of 5 against Hero at Atlanta. Can you explain? Can you go through, I guess, some of that thought process there? What was happening? Did you find yourself not able to recover? Did you kind of blame PvP volatility? What were you thinking when that happened?
I think it was a combination of factors. One is that I was quite tired. It was the end of the day. I mean, obviously Hero should have felt that too, but I definitely that was in my mind a little bit, like, oh, I'm pretty tired right now.
Sure.
But I mean, as far as gameplay goes, I feel like Hero hit me in my weak spot a lot, which is I'm quite strong in the macro games, but in one gate expands, I find it confusing to deal with a lot of the weird builds you can throw out. So like I'll often die. Like in Home Story Cup recently, I died to Skilless when I played one gate expand just because he proxy roboed me and I didn't have a really perfect response. So I can be a little vulnerable to weird cheese when I play one gate expand. A Hero hit me there.
Okay, it's interesting. It makes... When you explain it, it makes sense, but I think kind of the default, if I hadn't talked to you, was that you would be a cheesier, more unique player. Maybe not cheesy, but definitely more unique. And in such, you would be more comfortable with those openers. No, I didn't say that, but it just like, if you would ask me, where do you think Astrea is strong? I'd be like, well, I know, the Stalker Disruptor Wars of North America, those are awesome, so I know he's strong there, but, micro battles, creative stuff, mind games, so on and so forth. But apparently for coming from the horse's mouth here, you're not comfortable in the early game, one gate PvP scenarios.
I'm very comfortable if they play one gate also. Like,
okay. Okay.
I know exactly, you know, I have a million things I can play from there, but if they're playing, like, if they're proxying basically and I'm playing one gate, I find it confusing because if I play Robo, it's very easy to hold off a 4 gate or a 3 gate or a blink all in, but then it's harder to hold off a proxy Robo than if you win Stargate and Void Race. So I feel like there's a bunch of little coin flips I don't perfectly understand, and maybe I'm just not scouting well enough. I'm not exactly sure.
Hmm.
Like Max Pax is obviously number one at that, and I don't have the same understanding as him.
Yeah, fair enough. That seems to be what people have been saying
Mm.
for years. Just like I do the same exact thing, or at least I think I am, and I still not
Mm.
quite getting it. Yeah. So in general, then, do you think you're going to be playing to the map then? You know, are you going to force like a 2-gate scenario on, for instance, dragon scales because you're uncomfortable there, or just
Dragon Skills.
the map
Dragon
we're just
Skills?
on?
Was that one Dragon Skills?
Yes.
I would no, I'd just play one gate. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
I would play one gate, and then I would, if they're proxying me, I would build a Robo or a Stargate and pray I made the right choice, and maybe hold off what they're throwing at me 50% of the time.
Okay. Okay. All right, then you're gonna. I'm gonna tell you straight up. I'm gonna say, like, if you ever get in the put-up position, I'm gonna say Astrea is a bit uncomfortable here.
That's fine. You can
Okay,
say
cool.
that. You can say I have a 50% chance of holding it off.
All right, we'll do. Yeah, and that's kind of our time allotted for the matchups, which obviously we can go hours and hours and hours on. But wanted to get your thoughts on your groups and general thoughts about the tournament. So your group is Group B. It's Rainer, you, Creator, Showtime, Gumiho. What are you thinking for that one?
In the past, I would tell you I thought this was like probably the easiest group for me, like the best possible group I could get. But at every tournament recently, like literally Home Story Cup, the 2 Dream Hacks, I'm like, oh, this will be an easier opponent. This will be a harder opponent, and I always lose to the opponents I think will be easier, and then I beat the opponents I think will be harder. So I have no more faith in my ability to predict how well I'll do at an event.
Okay.
Because I thought, yeah, because like at Home Story Cup, if I remember correctly, I lost to Skillis, who I'm like, oh, I should be favored versus Skillis. And then I beat Hero Marine. I'm like, oh, Hero Marine's going to be a really tough match. And this happened a few more times. So I'm like, I'm just done trying to predict how well I'm going to do. I'm just going to, I'm just going to play.
All right, then. I mean, are you comfortable in PvP? Would you prefer more PvZs? Anything and everything?
Like, I want to say that Creator and Showtime should be good matches for me. I've practiced with Creator in the past. I played Showtime a lot of times this year, and I've beat him many times this year. I think I'm 3 for 3 or something this year versus him. Maybe 4 for 4. Gumiho, he's very tricky, but if you compare him to the other names on the list, like Mario Bunny, Beyond, Hero Marine, Clem, even Time, I think he should be a weaker opponent. So, like, I want to say this will be a comfortable group for me, but like I said, in the past, I've been very wrong about my predictions.
Sure. Yeah. Okay. And then actually a little bit of just thoughts on other players, not necessarily related to you playing them. What are your expectations for Katowice? Do you think Zerg's going to win again? Sixth year in a row if they do. Do you think Protoss are going to struggle again? They were non-existent in the round of 8. Do you think that there are any surprises that we're supposed to be looking out for? Anyone on ladder that's doing particularly well? And do you think anyone is going to be favored with a new patch and new maps kind of abruptly appearing?
I would say I don't expect Protoss to do too great. I feel like the patch wasn't really in their favor. But I've usually think that about every event, and Hero won a couple this year, so you never know.
Yeah.
Hero could do something. I honestly, my personal goal would just be to get out of the group stage. I don't expect. That's all I'm gonna try. I don't expect much more than that. And then, yeah, not to down talk the other Protoss players, but I really only think Hero has a reasonable shot of actually winning the whole event and going very far.
Well, I think a lot of people will agree with you.
Yeah. And then, as far as other players go, I feel like Cyril's been struggling a bit more than usual, so I wouldn't be super surprised to not see him get a top 8 or something, or a top 4, but I mean, he can always pull it out. He's Cyril. I would look to Solar and Beyond as kind of dark horses to do very well.
Okay.
I think if Beyond plays like half the game he can play online, then I always think he's going to do very well if he can just, pull out his full potential. And Solar's been on, I think Solar's really hard to beat.
Mm.
I played him recently and I struggled a lot. So yeah, I would say those are my picks. Maru's obviously always strong. Raynor's obviously, I mean, all the normal players who are strong are going to be strong. They're going to bring it out.
Yeah. Do you know anything about Neeb?
Honestly, I do not. I messaged him a while ago telling him we could practice anytime if he wanted, and he has not messaged me back to practice, so
Okay.
I don't know. And then again, he doesn't have any Protoss in his group, so maybe that's why.
Very well, could be, and maybe you could predict yourself getting out of a group, but then say, haha, the Protoss, you're not leaving. No one's getting to the round of 12 this time. That would be particularly bad.
Possible, yeah.
So yeah, that's gonna be a big question mark. It's too bad too. I thought he was doing so well in the summer.
He's always very strong. He was very strong this year.
Yeah. And then Ragnarok. Can I get some candid thoughts on Ragnarok?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I don't think he's gonna do great, honestly, even though he's on my team. Just I feel like his quirkiness and his kind of cheesy builds should have been figured out, but I mean, some players can just keep playing that forever and always do well. Like Dark always cheeses a lot, and it still works a very large amount of the time. So maybe I'm misevaluating.
Yeah.
But
that's fair. I mean, I think it's going to be very consistent for him. He didn't do so well in the Super Tournament, but he did still get round of 8 in Atlanta. I think is what it was.
I think he'll be a solid, probably maybe make it out a group stage player, but I don't know.
Yeah. Okay. And last question is going to be... Oh, second to last question. Second to last question is, what are you predicting for Korea versus foreigners? Stronger performance from Koreans or stronger performance from North America? Or
from North America.
Non-Koreans.
That's a tough one. I'm not sure. I think I would like to say it'll be pretty balanced this time around. Maybe 50-50 doing well.
Okay.
I see like Maru, Hero, Dark, Beyond. I see them making deep runs, but I also see Zero, Raynor, Clem making deep runs. So I don't know. Maybe one of the random foreigners like me, potentially.
Well, you're bumping up there, man, on Home Story Cup. Or didn't win, sorry, but got far in Home Story Cup.
Yeah.
Let's see then. And then my last question is, who do you think is going to make it out of the round of 36?
Right, let me look at that. Actually, Zaun thought for the last couple of months that he wasn't going to be able to go to Katowice because of military service. So he was actually very, very happy to be able to go, and I'm also very happy for him.
That's cool.
It's pretty last minute that he was able to go. But I think, not just because he's on my team, but I think Zaun will make it out. I think Kier will probably make it out. He's so good, but he just does not put up the results offline, I feel like. But I'll still put my vote of confidence on Cure. And I think Scarlet has a pretty decent shot of making it out. Like, she actually practices because she has a stream now. Which I think is helpful. Okay. And, yeah, maybe one of Su, Ryung, or Laser. I'm not sure.
Okay. I was kind of sleeping on Nightmare. I think some people would bring that up.
Yeah, I'm sleeping on Nightmare a little bit, even though he's my friend, but don't have the highest vote of confidence for him, honestly.
I think that's fair. I think he's also kind of in the keep surprising us, as opposed to having like a steady expectation.
Yeah, I don't feel like he has much X Factor. He just plays kind of standard from what I've seen of him at a mid-tier level, so I feel like he should put up results about to his level. But I mean, he punched above in Atlanta, so who knows? Yeah,
exactly. That's what I'm thinking of too. It's just like, well, it's okay, and then kind of did okay. It's a far cry from when he was a DT blinker, though.
Yeah, I don't even remember those days.
It's a long time ago. All right, that does it then. Perfectly on the dot. Awesome. Thank you so much, Astrea, for taking time out of your practice. Let me know your PayPal information. And would you prefer this to be private, or is it okay if this goes public?
Did I say anything about my strategy? I can't remember.
You said you were
Ah.
weak to, you know, the 1 gate versus proxy stuff. You don't think 3 sentry openers are good.
Oh yeah.
And that was kind of it. You think ravens are a bit overpowered, but that's, I don't think,
Oh
really a
yeah.
strategy.
Honestly, I don't know how much work it would be, but if you could cut out this 3 sentry part and the proxy part, I'd be totally fine with you posting it. I
Okay.
don't know if that's hard or not.
No, I don't think it's that hard. So just 3
Okay.
sentry and 1 gate strat. Just writing it there just to put it somewhere.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay. At most, I will allow the other casters to look at this, which I almost guarantee not many of them will. But, and then I'll tell them like don't reveal strategies or anything like that. So
Sounds good. Yeah,
yeah. Okay. Cool. Thanks again. Talk to you later.
no problem. Thanks. It was fun. Bye bye.
Bye.